Hello and welcome to part 1 of creating a to-do list in ReasonReact. This is more of a conversational coding than it is a tutorial, so I'm just sort of talking my way through this as I build up this application. So first I'm going to go to ReasonReact website to install that boilerplate. Let's see if I can find it. Try docs. Here we go. I'm going to grab this line. This is the buckle script init with a React theme, and I'm going to replace the project name with to-do for my to-do list. So it creates a directory. I'm going to jump into the directory, open up VS Code, and notice that it's created some directories for me. I've got a source directory, a webpack configuration, package.json, and I'm going to go ahead and, well, let's take a look at the README. So this is important here. We want to run npm start. Let's get this in the terminal. So npm install first, and then by running npm start we'll have something that's constantly watching our reason files and compiling them into JavaScript. So now that that's finished, I'm going to run npm start. So now over here you'll see that for every reason file we now have this bs.js file. And then in another tab, we're going to run the npm run webpack. And what that's doing is it's building a bundle from all of these JavaScript files down to a single build file here that is included in our index.html. So I'm going to switch back to this terminal. This is pretty useful for seeing the compilation errors right here inside VS Code. So let's get rid of the default components in this project so we can build our custom app. So I'm going to build, I'm going to use app with an ID of root as the entry point into this application. So now we need to go create this component. So I'm going to replace this index.reason file. This was here before. I don't need them anymore, so I'm going to just comment them out and paste in my own command, which is let's create the app and insert it into the DOM wherever there's an ID of root. So now we get our first error here. It says we found a bug for you. Maybe it doesn't need to be this big, make it slightly smaller. We found a bug for you, can't find this module app. So let's create it. App.reason. I find that just using capital uppercase here to match the module name makes the most sense. So to create a stateless component, we just say let component equal ReasonReact dot stateless component, give it a name, and then we need a make function, which is some children that I'm not using right now. This is a function that takes some children, returns a record that inherits from component, and has a we're overriding the render function, or we're defining it. It takes self and it returns some JSX. So we can just say hello world. So when I save that, it complains that we can't use hello here. It doesn't know what this is, so we can't just drop anything in here. we need to say ReasonReact string. All right, and this call is missing an argument. We need to wrap this in a scope. Okay, now it's finished compiling. And in order to preview this, I don't need to start any other kind of server. I can just navigate to the page and open up that index.html file. And it says hello world, so that is working. All right, so in part one, I just want to be able to display a list. It can be a hard-coded list, and then in part two, we'll enhance that. So first, let's be able to display a list of items. So right now, we're just displaying string, and I would like to display a list. So why don't we just define that within the render function. Let's wrap this inside a scope. And within here, using a let, we can say let items equal an array of items, items 1, items 2, and save this. Okay, it compiled, and I want to see that. So for every item that is a string now, we want to wrap that inside some JSX. So we can iterate over the items using array.map, which takes an array. Well, it takes a function that you want to do with every single item. So some function, and it takes the items, and it returns an array of those JSX or React elements, so some sort of output. So let's define what this sum function is. So that sum function is going to equal some function that takes something and returns some JSX. Maybe it's an li with ReasonReact string of this item. Okay, so that seems to have compiled. So now let's drop this into the div, the output. Okay, incompatible types here because one, this has type array of ReasonReact React element. So the output of array is an array of whatever the output of some function was, which is a ReasonReact element. But within JSX, we can only have a single React element. So in order to do the conversion, we can either do ReasonReact array, which this thing takes an array of React elements and returns a single React element. So if we save that, it compiles. Or I believe we can use the spread syntax, and I think that does the same thing. All right, so let's take a look, and now we're displaying the list of items. Okay, great. So in the next video, let's see if we can be able to type into an input field and add some new items into this list.